the voice from their son, which was a demon, began speaking to the parents and saying, "Oh, you're tired, huh? You're tired. Oh, you got tired of praying. Oh, that's too bad. That you can't have him. He's mine. He's mine. You can't have him. Oh, you got tired of praying." The mom and dad, they got like a second wind, like running a marathon. They were being called out. They were being laughed at by a demon in their son. And the mom and dad, they had a second wind and they began praying again.
I'm a soldier for Christ. I'm a soldier for Christ. I'm a soldier. No, they'll never take.
Jesse, our kid's been smoking dope for 10 years, doesn't go to school, doesn't work, stays home all day in his room, locked up in his room, smoking pot, watching pornography. He's listless. He has no pep in his step. He has no desire to do anything. Their son begins yelling in the room, Mom, Dad, help me, Mom, Dad. The mom and dad open the door as they're walking out to 12 noon mass, and the son doesn't go to mass with them. He was in the room, and he was growling like an animal. He was on his bed, and his body was twisting like a pretzel in different positions that the human body cannot ordinarily do. And then they also saw their son. There was another voice coming out of his mouth, an entirely different voice. And they said his face looked like plain and pure evil. Mom and dad, who are practicing Catholics, daily rosary, Sunday Mass Catholics, lectors, extraordinary ministers of the Eucharist, they go to a Catholic Bible study. They saw that their son was being tormented by an evil spirit. The mom and dad began praying spontaneous prayers, started praying litanies, the rosary, the divine mercy. The mother ran to the bedroom, got my prayer book, and started the spiritual warfare prayers in my book, and she began praying them in a loop over and over. Guess what? They stood over their bed as their son was being tormented by a demon. He was manifesting all kinds of different physical manifestations. He was in a trance. There was a second personality. His body, his hands were twitching. His eyes rolled back. You could only see the whites of his eyes. And another voice was coming out of his voice box. His face became dark. His face started changing. It's called body morphing. Started changing and stretching and moving and getting longer and shorter. The mom and dad knew that they were dealing with the diabolical right there in their bedroom. They kept on praying and praying and praying. Guess how long they prayed? Talk about courageous Catholics. They prayed over their son for 2 hours nonstop. 2 hours. They got tired. They said, Jess, we were physically spent. You know what they did? They started taking a breath and started trying to catch their breath. All of a sudden, the voice from their son, which was a demon, began speaking to the parents and saying, "Oh, you're tired, huh? You're tired. Oh, you got tired of praying. Oh, that's too bad. That you can't have him. He's mine. He's mine. You can't have him. Oh, you got tired of praying." The mom and dad, they got like a second wind, like running a marathon. They were being called out. They were being laughed at by a demon in their son. And the mom and dad, they had a second wind and they began praying again. They went another 60 minutes. These parents told me, Jesse, we prayed and we were crying, tears coming out of our eyes. We had your book, spontaneous prayers, litanies, the rosary. 3 hours. Let me ask you something. How many of you guys out there have kids that are smoking dope every day? Huh? How many of you would take 3 hours nonstop to pray over your children? How many of you done that? I know a couple that did that. 3 hours nonstop. Guess what? When they reach the third hour, something interesting about 3 in Christianity, 3, the number of the Trinity, the hour of mercy. They told me, Jesse, right around the third hour, our son started shrieking. There was a voice that came out, a painful voice. He belted a loud shriek. He went limp. He breathed a sigh of relief. And he went unconscious and limp for about a minute or two. The mom and dad They said, we felt like something left him. We could feel something heavy left the room. The son woke up after a minute. His pupils and his iris came back. His voice came back. His face, his color came back. He got out of the bed, leaped up, wrapped his arms around mom and dad, and began crying and saying, Mom, Dad, now I know that you love me. Now I know that you love me. Mom, Dad, this thing was trying to destroy me. It was trying to kill me. Mom, Dad, you saved my life. Now I know that you love me. You didn't leave me. You didn't abandon me. Mom, Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The kid, because of that event, and he saw their parents' courageous love in the mid. I'm talking about spiritual warfare. A demon right in your house, in your kid's bedroom. And mom and dad, they fought back valiantly like little Davids with the 5 pebbles in their hand. Well, guess what? The next day, I won't mention what diocese because then you know what exorcist it is. The next day, they took their son to the exorcist from the diocese. And the exorcist, they told the exorcist, they had made an appointment through the pastor about everything that the son had been doing for 10 years, the way it culminated to this 3-hour showdown, what they did, the prayers they used, and some of the things that they were doing. So they told the exorcist everything they did, and he said, who taught you to do all that stuff? He goes, there's a guy named Jesse Romero on Spanish radio. He's the one that tells us how to do all these things. He walks us through it. And the priest said, he knows what he's talking about. He goes, he knows what he's talking about. And he gave you the right prayers and the right sacramentals. The priest diagnosed the son and said, your son is completely healed. Congratulations, mom and dad. You cast out a demon from your son. The mom and dad said, what? Father, we're not priests. We don't have the authority to do this. What do you mean? Then the priest told them, by the way, don't you know that mom and dad have the power in their house to cast an evil spirit from their children, from their household? This is normative teaching from all exorcists right now that currently teach in the Vatican and in the U.S. Mom and dad have the authority and power by Jesus Christ through your baptism, confirmation, living in a state of grace, to cast out an evil spirit from your children and in your house. So don't think you could go across the street next door to your kids, your nephews and nieces. No, that authority, that pecking order is given for your house. As it says in Joshua 24:15, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And here's the bottom line. How come God has done this? 4th commandment, honor your father and your mother. Father Chad Ripperger, a professor of exorcism, he says, God has given divine authority to parents. There's a pecking order within the family. And mom and dad, based on the 4th commandment, have this divine authority over their children. And so mom and dad have the power to bless their kids. And mom and dad also have the power to set their kids free from demonic bondage. You want to hear more stuff like that? This is the network you're going to hear it on, and this is the show you're going to hear it on. People don't want to talk about this stuff because it's politically incorrect. You know what? I don't care about that. Download our app, the Terry and Jesse Show. You want to get hard-hitting Catholicism just like this? This is what you're going to get Monday through Friday. God bless you. Keep the faith.